Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to today's video. My name is Anthony Hammock. This YouTube channel, Hammock Fitness, has been created by yours truly just to bring informative content and evidence-based recommendations. I also want to talk about a variety of different topics and what the practical application or the practical implications of research studies are. Alright, today's topic is going to be muscle hypertrophy. What that means is hypertrophy is just growth, so muscle growth basically, just the increase in the size of the fibers. We're going to talk about skeletal muscle, which is voluntary contracted muscles, so biceps, lats, chest, things like this, right? We have smooth muscle, which is involuntary. We're just going to be talking about muscle hypertrophy, what it is, there are three big mechanisms which exercise-induced hypertrophy are required in order for exercise-induced hypertrophy to occur. We're going to talk about, the first thing I'll address is what is muscle hypertrophy. So it's, like I said, the growth of muscle tissue. What I'll be specifically talking about is the increased size in the myofibrils, which are the rod-like rod-like units of each muscle. So you kind of have a muscle with rod-like units in between it, and those, when a hypertrophic response is stimulated, those essentially grow, stretching the muscle, growing the muscle, creating bigger, more developed muscles. This exercise-induced hypertrophy is for the growth of these myofibrils. So there are also, he gets into it, he talks about cross-section hypertrophy, or cross-section fibers, and I'm going to try to keep it as basic as I can for this video. Moving on down, we have sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. This I'm not going to talk about much, but I would like to address it. People who are eating high carbohydrate diets, you will usually have this increased muscle size during their workout, which is just during their workout and hours after their workout. This is basically just substrate storage. It's just the buildup of glycogen within the muscles. Although that has purpose, we're not going to be addressing that today. This research article that I will link in the description box is by a man by the name of Brad Schoenfeld. You can find him. I'll link his website. You can read all about him. Most of his, I think he has like 50 publications, and you can read all of them on his website, which is really cool, for free. So I'll link that in the description box or on the screen here somewhere. In the research article that I will provide, Brad discusses the physiological processes, and this would just take much too long for me to discuss. So I'm going to, like I said, keep it basic. What is necessary for muscle hypertrophy to occur? How can we build muscle? What is the necessary steps for muscle to grow? Brad goes over this in his research as three different elements. We have mechanical tension, we have muscle damage, and we have metabolic stress. The first one, mechanical tension, is the most important. Without some sort of mechanical tension, a hypertrophic response cannot be stimulated. What mechanical tension is the stretching of a muscle under load, which causes the muscle to feel like it's going to tear, thus creating a hypertrophic response. This comes through exercise. This is basically what I'm talking about, is exercise-induced hypertrophy. So any exercise you do stimulates a hypertrophic response to a degree greater than that which would be stimulated from a response or a tension that wasn't exercise-induced. if that's grammatically correct. The next one is going to be muscle damage, which is self-explanatory. Just tearing of fibers, stretching of fibers, damaging the actual muscle fibers themselves. Now, something that's very popular within the fitness industry is that of delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. So you work out, you're sore the next day, you can't walk, you feel like crap. Although delayed onset muscle soreness may be some indicator of muscle damage, it shouldn't be an indicator of whether or not you had a good workout. So I'm just baffled by people who will say, if I'm not sore, therefore my workout was not successful, or something like this. Too much muscle damage, which is funny, which ties into this whole DOMS thing. Too much muscle damage can indicate connective tissue damage. Connective tissue is exactly what it sounds. It's the tissue that connects the different muscles to each other and to the body. And so, of course, we don't want that, but it's going to be long debated on on how much damage is actually the most beneficial physiologically. And then the next thing we have is the metabolic stress, and this is kind of where the pump comes in, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But metabolic stress is the buildup of molecules necessary for metabolism to function properly. And so these are called metabolites. They're things like inflammatory proteins, lactic acid, creatine, organic phosphate. There are all types. I believe Brad lists them all in his research. But these have been shown to potentially produce a hypertrophic response. All this buildup of intracellular metabolites thus stimulates a hypertrophic response. And the pump, the nice thing about the pump too, and this is what I like to tell people at the gym, because I'm a trainer here at a local fitness center, is that the pump is not blood flowing or swelling into the muscle. You know, Arnold back in the day would say, pump blood into the muscle, you know. Then you have all these other guys, Rich Piana, you have all these people saying, you got to pump the blood into the muscle. The thing is the pump is intracellular fluid swelling. So the pump is not some swelling of blood into the muscle. I mean, there's blood there to begin with, so why would you have to place blood into the muscle? It really makes no sense. Yes, there's more blood flow, okay, and I think that's what people usually mean, but there's no blood being pumped. I mean, when you do bicep curls till you can't move, you're not pumping more blood into your muscle. So I'm not sure where that comes in. It sounds really cool and really, hardcore, but for an educated person, it really isn't scientific. So the next thing I want to talk about is, what are the practical implications of this study? Okay, Anthony, you've given us the study's basic elements, what hypertrophy is. How do we apply this to our lives? How do we apply this to our exercise? That's a great question. And first thing I would say is lift weights. Do some sort of resistance training daily or bi-daily. I mean, 3 or 4 times a week, get out and do some sort of resistance training that puts mechanical tension on your muscles. Okay, this sort of stimulus will help to prevent muscle catabolism because, as we know, muscle is a highly metabolic, or muscle tissue in general is highly metabolic, and so without that external stimulus, catabolism is increased. Degradation. We don't want this. So go out and do some sort of resistance training. The second, third, and fourth kind of tie into each other. One would be train in different rep ranges, so have exercises for specifically 3 to 6 reps, lower rep ranges for strength, and have other ones for reaching that maximal hypertrophy, stimulating that hypertrophic response. So anywhere from 8 or 10 to 15 reps. It was usually good for most of the time. Periodize. Brad elaborates a lot better than I will, but just changing up the volume, changing up the reps and sets, the rest intervals in between sets, so going from 30-second rest to a minute 30 rest, depending on the exercises. Also, scheduled deload weeks or deload days or off days, things like this. I mean, you can basically periodize anything within your training protocol. The last one is just to allow for supercompensation of the muscle tissue. I mean, have your periods of hard training, proper form, range of motion, progressive tension overload, and take days off. I mean, I would recommend that most people take a day at least off throughout in a week. Now, some advanced lifters can go multiple weeks without taking days off, and that's fine. But I think for the majority of people, taking your scheduled days off, make it every 5th, every 6th day, every 7th day, something like this. Take days off. Train hard for those times that you're in the gym. Take days off. So while I sit here and drink my Coke Zero, I just wanted to thank everybody for watching this video. I am sponsored by Coca-Cola. Okay, not really. But thank you again for watching, you guys. If you have any recommendations, any questions, comments, concerns, if I've missed anything, if I've misinterpreted Brad's research, I would like to know. But again, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support that you guys will be giving me, the support I've been getting. Email me at hammockfitness@gmail.com for online personal coaching, personal training. That online account is not for in-person, it's for online nutrition coaching and online training coaching. So if you want personalized nutrition and or training protocols, email me at hammockfitness@gmail.com.